pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I have a moment of silent prayer? Amen. Okay, it's April 16th, Tuesday evening, 5:30 in the evening. We're at the Town Bath Municipal Center. Can I have a roll call, please?
Scott Markey.
Here.
Susan Lester is here. Elizabeth Skinner.
Here.
Mary Lynn Hickey.
Here.
Rebecca McLeod.
Here.
Greg Sheen.
Here.
And Tom Hall.
Here.
All right.
Okay, can I have a review of the minutes from the Town Council meeting, the 2nd of April, 2024? I'll take any additions or corrections and a common consent. Everybody good with the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, common consent. All right. Let's move forward. We have a few persons before council, and I'm going to start with Pete Gordon. He wants to address us about the state park improvements. Pete, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you so much,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor and Town Council. I'm here with the Berkeley Springs State Park Historical Foundation, and here to express our deep appreciation to the town for being the sponsor for this project, which has taken a while. It's started in 2015. Not only for being the sponsor, but for supporting us every step of the way. And I want to invite you all to our ribbon cutting. We're going to dedicate the new bridge as the Chris Hansroth Memorial Bridge in honor of Chris Hansroth, the former superintendent of the park, who sparked the idea. If you can come on Friday at 1 o'clock, that would be great. I will give this to the mayor. Scott, there you go.
All right.
As a reminder, I will tell a brief story, a bit humorous about this, how this thing started. But again, 1 o'clock, rain or shine on Friday at the park between the gazebo and the bridge itself. There'll be a few speakers and we will be brief, and it will be a great little ceremony. So I thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm sorry to say I have to run off. I thought it was dress up night at the town council. But I have another meeting that I need to attend, and just thank you. So, yeah, announcing the teacher of the year tonight.
Oh,
So,
my.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pete.
Thanks,
I
Pete.
hate to run. I'll come back.
That's
Well done.
fine.
Good
That's,
work.
I wanted to get you up so you get to that other, that's very important too. So we thank you very much, and we'll be there at 1 o'clock on Friday.
That's great. And thank you for all
Yeah.
your work.
Thanks. Okay, we have two other ones. We have Liz Campbell and Ray, I can't even pronounce it.
Winarski.
Okay.
That's the way it is.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Yeah. I
Well,
won't let you pronounce it in Polish.
yes, you have the floor.
Thank you for having us. So I'm the president of the Morgan County Fair Association, and Ray is the vice president. And we are planning the Morgan County Expo this year. And we would like to know if we could have no parking signs put on Washington and Fairfax side of the park this year, like last year.
Did you have Washington Street last year also?
Yes,
Yeah, just around by the park.
just the
Technically.
Washington
The
Street
one
that borders the
block.
park, and Fairfax that borders the other side. So last year we didn't have the signs on Fairfax side,
Mhm.
but we wanted to go ahead and do that this year for loading,
Oh, you didn't
unloading.
have Fairfax last year. You just had Washington. Why do you want to have both?
Yes. So last year there was a food truck that parked on Fairfax, but we would kind of like to use that area for loading, unloading for the vendors.
Mhm.
And if it would be nice, I don't know if this is possible, if anybody that has disabled signs in their cars would like to use Fairfax.
Okay.
If not, that's okay.
What is the actual use that you will have for Washington Street?
So for Washington Street,
Those parking spots that will be covered.
there's
winners
going to be
and-
vendors lined up all along right there on the up all the way up to the sidewalk on Washington.
Okay,
And we had the no parking signs last year, but people were still parking, and we had to ask them to
oh,
leave. But
okay,
it's really disruptive to the
Okay.
vendors.
Are
We're
they
trying to
facing
educate.
Washington or are they facing into the park?
Some of them face out
And
and
sometimes out.
some in. It depends on what their activity is for the public.
but like their interface with the public, I think, that's obviously not, you're not asking people to walk in the middle of Washington Street to get to the window to order food, are you?
No,
No.
No, that's happening on the sidewalk.
it's happened, I think, on Fairfax. The only one we had last year, I think, was
The
the ice
food,
cream.
this year, the food trucks are gonna be in the farmer's market area.
Okay, the church parking lot.
Over in the lawn.
Okay,
Yes.
so, but I thought you just said the food trucks are gonna be on Washington Street.
No, last
Last year they were.
year, a food
Oh.
truck parked on Fairfax, and then another one parked on Washington by the Country Inn,
Mm.
and the generator was very loud.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the Master Gardeners, the Boy Scouts located up in that area, and they were really struggling to educate the public with their activities because of that generator.
Right, right.
From
You're
that
asking
truck.
us to block these spots on Washington
up.
all the way up as opposed to just.
That way, so people are going to be crossing, they'll be using the
crosswalk,
crosswalks.
surely.
But there's gonna be, instead of our exhibits being in the Country Inn like last year, it's gonna be at the Ice House this year. So people are going to be walking back and forth from the park to the food trucks, to the Ice House, back and forth. We would just like it to be as safe as possible, but we also don't want food trucks just pulling up right there, because then our vendors can't do their programming with the public.
So you really have 3 sites for the fair.
Yes.
I don't think any of us understood that really.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
it changed this year.
How many
Yeah.
vendors do you have?
Well, last year we had about 40. I'm hoping to get at least 50 this year.
All in the park?
Yes.
Pretty much in the park, yeah, the vendors are in the park.
That's a lot.
Yes, and then the
That's a lot.
exhibits last year were inside the Country Inn, and this year they'll be in the theater in the Ice House.
So what's happening on Fairfax Street then?
Loading and unloading.
Yes, for the
We-
vendors, because
we
it's just for
used-
the one day.
Right, we used to give like 2 spaces, like with the plant fair and stuff.
Yeah.
We always give 2 spaces up there at towards the light for unloading and loading. Our chief wanted us to ask a couple questions. You've already answered one, where you're gonna put the food trucks.
Okay.
So you've answered that.
So that's participating food trucks. If you're
Yes.
not participating food truck, you just want to avoid them pulling right up to Washington.
Well, they did anyway last year, even with the no parking signs.
I mean, if you're gonna do it
And
over,
non-metered, and I'm assuming we also had bagged the meters at that point or something too, so they weren't paying.
right, I mean,
feeding them
we have to,
Correct.
if council so moves, I would say, they're in front of the park, put no parking and maybe 1 or 2 of the spaces on Fairfax. If you're gonna be doing food vendors over at, they can use the crosswalks back and
Yes, they
forth.
should be
Because
using
we've got the
crosswalks.
audibles that, and shuts everything down. The other thing is that we have food trucks that come in, almost every weekend.
Mhm.
So they pay their, the chief put here that, they also pay their business license and they have all that stuff, and they all, I can understand, probably there on Washington Street, if so moved that the council does that. But I think they should be allowed to be over in the, with the other food trucks, because
Right.
they pay their fees too
Right.
to the
Right.
town and everything. I know he wanted to know, because he thought maybe you were putting them along Fairfax
No.
there. So,
No.
so he was wanting to find that out. So, I mean, we've given there on Washington, which it's like 6 spaces, I think, and give 1 or 2 there on Fairfax for loading and unloading. But I can't see shutting that whole strip down all the way on Fairfax,
Yeah, I think it's getting a little bit clearer for us too, that we didn't know about the other parking lot at all, where you're gonna have the food
Mhm.
and like
Yes.
that's all, so it can be explained to Anyway, this is where the food is gonna be located.
Yes, so we have permission from the church to use their part of the farmer's market parking lot. That's where the food trucks are gonna go. The upper part will still be public parking.
Mhm.
Liz,
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
are you charging the food trucks a fee to participate in the
So-
event?
All vendors that are nonprofits pay $25 fee.
Okay.
The food trucks that I asked are all on the health department list and have West Virginia business license and hawker's license.
Okay, so,
And the $25, 100% of it goes to the fair.
Right.
So it's all, we're a nonprofit and it's all volunteer.
So
Right.
do you confirm that all of your vendors have their appropriate licensing to be at the fair?
No, we do on your honor system, but they've already been cleared with the health department.
Okay,
So
okay,
I'm going by the health department's list that they gave me.
okay.
Could you send out a blast to have them come and see us and make sure that
They
they're
have their-
licensed? Because that would be.
The
that's
food
what-
trucks.
that's- Mhm.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, I can
And
do
just
that.
make sure, just tell them that our local police department may be doing spot checks for
Okay.
licenses,
I
so
like
that they should be prepared for that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I will definitely let them know.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank
I would appreciate
Yeah.
Chief Carter
because
to
we
do that
can't point-
also.
We can't point out a single truck and restrict them from being there.
No,
Yes,
like the
I
snow
agree.
cones,
Yeah.
they get to be there,
So,
regardless of how loud it is.
yes, so I've contacted her. So she's never paid or felt, we have vendor applications.
Mhm.
That's never happened.
She
just
doesn't
shows
pay,
up.
she just comes and
She
does her
just shows
thing.
up. Yes.
Well, we don't shut any other food trucks from coming in at any point, I mean, we can't discriminate.
No, but it's unfair advantage where you have everybody else going over to the lot,
Right,
but
she has a
somebody
premier
else
spot right in
pulls
front.
right in.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
saying
No
not in,
parking is no parking.
it's no parking,
We got
absolutely.
no parking.
If there's, if the lot's being used, then that's fine. Yeah, I mean, you give the front spaces and maybe one or two there for unloading and loading of people that may have walkers and wheelchairs and stuff like that. There, I just can't see taking those other 5 or 6 spaces along Fairfax Street,
Right.
closing them down too.
Right.
Um,
I
That's
also
fine.
think it's fair if the snow cone lady shows up along Washington Street, where you are having vendors that are not food vendors, to ask her to move along. And we
we would have to have.
would have to do that.
Yeah,
Like our police chief would need to have to do
Right.
that and
Okay.
say, this is where everyone is cited. You're in a site that's not a,
It's
where
a no
all three
parking
people
zone
are.
this
Yeah.
day.
no parking zone. Okay, so
Okay.
if you would just let the police handle that situation,
I
should it
would
come up
love
again?
that.
Okay.
But in the meantime, just let all your folks know that, just as they do at the farmer's market, the police will go by and make sure they've got their hawkers and other licenses that they're supposed to have to conduct commerce
Okay.
in a public space.
Yep. I would
So
be
we'll
happy
get
to do
those.
that.
We'll have to inform the chief,
Mm-hmm.
which he's here this week, but
Right.
we'll let Sandra know that we need those parking spaces, no
She
parking.
heard us, she's out there.
Okay, all right. So, like I said, I mean, I was just worried where we're gonna put your guys' food vendors, and that's perfect. Over in that lot, it's fine. We keep all, we can shut that off on Washington Street if the council's okay with that.
Right,
And 1 or 2 spaces right there on Fairfax.
but
and
don't
the
close the
rest
street.
of- Don't close the street. Yeah.
I make a motion that we approve closure of the parking on Washington Street for the expo and
spots.
3 spaces.
I would say 2. We always give the plant fair, I think, 2
I think
spaces.
2
right?
is
Two
good, 'cause
spaces
those
on
2
there.
spots are
Those 2
wide.
spots right up there. We
Yeah.
can put no parking, vendor
For the
drop
expo.
off or whatever. And then in the front, just put, the expo, no parking for the expo here. period.
And then your arrangement with, the church is, that's done, that's between you two.
Yes,
Private
yes. So, yes, they had us fill out a form
Okay.
and show our insurance.
I made a motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on the floor to close Washington Street, no parking, and 2 spaces right there on Fairfax Street. And it'll be enforced,
Do you
right?
want to use the word close Washington Street or just
Or
close it
no,
for
close the
parking?
parking spaces.
In front of the
Yeah,
tire.
close the parking
Yeah.
spaces. No, we don't want to close Washington Street.
No.
You know, we don't have a permit to do that. So anyway, any more discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All
Thank
right,
you very much.
so,
All right.
yes.
When is the date of the expo this year? July 27th.
Okay. Got that done. All right, we'll move on to communications of mayor. We have on the 27th of this month at Town Hall between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., we have the DEA National RX Take Back Day here at Town Hall. That's where you can bring unused or unwanted medications, and the police department has a box. Will secure them and get rid of them. So that'll be here from 10 o'clock in the morning till 2 p.m. afternoon. I think that's a Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah,
Working
that's a
on that.
Saturday. So anyway, if you have any that you need to get rid of, they'll be willing to take it. Okay, we also have Uniquely West Virginia event at the Ice House on the 27th. That'll be from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We talked about that last time, so just keep that on your radar. And then the other thing I want to bring up is, and we're not sure what's going to happen at the present time, but we want people to be aware because we're probably going to need your support. We have learned in the last couple of weeks that there is a possibility that the state may open up the first half of the bypass, which will be Route 9 and to Fairfax will have two exits on them. Possibly when they get it paved in fall, that they may open those up. I've talked to a few people. We're supposed to have some meetings to discuss with the state, but the council is aware of it, and we're going to try to do everything in our power to ask the state to not do that, because if they're bringing high volume of trucks down Route 9 and turning at Roy's or bringing them down off Fairfax Street, that's a very tight street with those two turns up there and then come down the hill. That's totally unacceptable to our community. They're going to tear up stuff. We would rather they wait until they get the second half of the bypass constructed and ready to open it and do it all at one time. So just want the public to be aware that we may need your help if this is where we end up. And we're not sure right now, but I've been told by several people that could happen. So we're trying to get that settled so that we stop this before they decide one morning at 9:30 to open up the roadway, and the next thing we know, we got mass stuff going on. So anyway, we may be asking for the public's help if it comes down to that. So anybody else have anything to add about that? Okay.
I just want to underscore that it's a safety issue.
Yes.
It is primarily a safety issue because neither one of those routes coming into town, it is very hard for me to imagine a semi truck making a hard right off of Route 9 to go 522 north, which is their typical route. For trucks that pass through town now, just staying on 522 and coming down Fairfax Street. Full disclosure, I live on Fairfax Street. That road is not wide enough for semis. And then we've got the beautiful brick at the bottom at the intersection of Washington Street. And that'll be torn up in no time with that kind of traffic on Fairfax Street. So I know we all want that bypass to open, but I think they need to be very thoughtfully considering the implications of opening half of it and dumping all that traffic into the middle of downtown, which is already quite congested.
Now, I live right on Route 9, and every morning until approximately 8:15, some mornings as late as 8:30, I have traffic stopped beyond my home in the mornings with the school traffic. And so if this were to transpire, it would be gridlock from the bypass to Route 9. And so, and the safety factor alone would be,
No, and I can't imagine an apple butter festival with dumping that traffic down like that during apple butter festival. So, I'd rather be proactive than reactive and discuss with the state exactly what they're going to do. And if they are, then we're going to need the public's help definitely in trying to take care of that.
Are you have meetings scheduled in Charleston or
Well,
how far are you?
the few people that I've talked to are trying to set up meetings that we can participate with the DOH and with the Secretary of Transportation. So we do not know when that's going to happen. I'm just making people aware right now that this may be a possibility. It's not 100% etched in stone yet, but I want to let people know now.
Do they know that the council is unhappy with this?
Yes, they know.
Okay,
Oh,
so it's
absolutely,
already
they
in
know.
play.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah,
This conversation's already going on among the residents, and
yeah.
I haven't heard anyone who thinks this is a good idea.
So, like I said, that's, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm not saying it's not going to happen. So we really need to be,
I
proactive.
honestly think if they let this go through and we were not able to stop it with organized citizen resistance, that the trucks would do this a couple times and say, oh my gosh, this is a horrible idea. Let me do what I've always done and just come straight up 522.
Yeah.
This is a bad idea.
Yeah. So, like I said, just want the public to be aware that we may need your help, depending on how these meetings go. Okay. All right, that's done. All right, Bath Development, I don't see anybody here. Their next meeting is May 1st, 4:30, Courthouse Room, via Zoom or in person. Parks and Recs, don't see anybody. Their next meeting is April 17th at 7 p.m. Courthouse Room. Planning Commission.
Yeah, right here. Yeah, so I believe our next meeting is May 9th. And we're working right now on consolidating all of our interviews that we've done the last 6 months or so. It's actually very informative, showing a lot of areas in which there are nobody that's really assigned. So those are the kind of areas that I think what we're planning to do in May is figure out what is our way forward and defining what are the additional interviews we need to make that are going to be non-council related organizations that actually feed a lot into what the town does, as well as the lack of assignment for certain areas. As we know, parking, things like that, they really don't have a key stakeholder. We have a number of other areas like flooding, that sort of thing, that we don't have direct control. It's going to be an organization outside of our control, sort of like the DOH kind of conversation. That needs to be worked into the whole key stakeholders type thing and effectively establish that communications link. So that's what we're going to be working on in May.
Any questions that might discuss with Dave? If not, we'll move on then. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Okay, Rails and Trails.
I give you a short update this week. This morning.
One page.
It's
One page.
No, it's always one page. It's just the font gets smaller. Margins get bigger. I'm getting this information from Mark down in Charleston, so it's painfully slow, but it hasn't broken apart. It appears that the state's willing to go and procure the bridges, taking them out of whatever contract happens. It appears that Centforce, who's been lined up to build the trail and put the bridges in, is still connected to the project. That hasn't fallen apart. And they're starting to look at procurement of the bridges. through some activity, and they may be talking with District 5 on procurement of bridges. But they'll be prefab truss bridges, not the monster concrete ones. So it's like, I haven't heard a discouraging word, but they can't give me a schedule. That's the challenge. You know, when somebody starts to talk about a schedule, a year, a quarter, something like that, you got something, but it hasn't fallen apart. Gary Grayle's involved in it, and I think Tim Sadowski and his crew is still involved in it, so it hasn't fallen apart. And based on what the Centforce has actually been able to do, I suspect they're the right folks to do it. But I can't tell you when. The streetscape, we missed the May 7th letting. I didn't think we were gonna hit it. I gave it 50-50 some time ago. And it has to be out for 30 days before they open the bid on the letting date. So we're well past 30 days for that. So the shift almost automatic is to June 11th, which would say, got to get the package approved and out on the street by around the 10th of May. And I check BidX all the time. And there's 20 projects in the May 7th one. Ours isn't one of them. So, so I think and I think I told you last time, if the award, it won't be award on June 11th because it takes time to consider it and to see if we have enough money. That would, end up mid-November or so for completion of the project if it went through.
Right.
So we'll see. I haven't had any further words on the grants, but I know they're coming. The next step for us would be, did you get a grant for the design of phase 6 on streetscape? And the next one after that is opening the window for intent to apply, which would be the construction of phase 6. We can manage that. Give an update on the state park project that Scott and I and Rebecca went and visited our dear friends at the DEP over in Romney. And we had a chance to talk. We did. They listened. I gave them my book that had all the data, the timelines, everything else in it. And they basically said, we have your input. You don't need us. We don't need anything more from you. So now we're waiting to see what they do. I have unofficially talked to some of the D5 folks that were in town for cleanup in the park. They're doing the final touch-up work in the park with a suggestion that we're coming after either the contract or the contractor's bond for payment of what I would consider the commission part of the problem, which was causing the sediment release. And we've asked them to reduce the fine for the town because we dutifully tried to report it. And they maybe not happy with how we did it, but the truth is we did it.
Well, and it repaired itself. And it's okay. It's
done.
in good shape.
Well, it's done,
Yeah.
but the problem is it happened.
Yeah.
They don't give you the fine after it's done. They give you the fine for when it's happening.
Yeah.
And if you go and look in the run,
Mhm.
what's happening?
Nothing.
The sandbars are building up again.
Yeah.
It got flushed out.
What a
due to the-
surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a big surprise.
Yeah. So it's like, it's now releasing its own sediment again.
Yeah, just like streams do.
Yeah, they have that habit of doing
Pete,
it.
we're not the people told to respond via email. They did not want a phone call, as I understand.
No, they have this, they have 1-800 number.
Yep.
And
We were told.
unfortunately, the
I
town,
was gonna say.
the town is the permittee. No matter what happens, the permittee gets the bill.
Right.
Why? Because the permittee is the only entity
Yes.
that DEP can actually find. They don't have any rule. They can't find DOH. They can't find the contractor. They don't have the authority to do that.
Right. But your position is you're going to try and get DeLauder
Yeah, absolutely.
to pay this fine because the commission was theirs.
Yes.
And frankly, the issue around reporting, given that we emailed instead of called an 800 number, the due diligence was fully present. It just wasn't in the communication mode that they now insist is their unilateral protocol for
Yeah.
getting this done.
Yeah.
So it is very frustrating that this has happened. And obviously, as a town who's always managing rather finite, always finite resources. The idea of another expense like this is concerning, but I trust that you and Rebecca are going to fight the good
Well-
fight and get the appropriate parties to take responsibility.
I think that's it, Lee. That's
Yes.
his honor, the mayor. I mean, it's in your name.
It's in my name, so if I
And
go down,
we're
I'm
doing our best. I mean, we spent time to make sure they understood, and part of the book we gave them, the really strange lash up of who does what on the park project.
Yeah.
So we got an Army permit. All the paperwork to get that permit was done at Charleston with the mayor's name on it for property the town doesn't own.
With no mention of the 1-800 number
Yeah.
in the letter that came to you.
It came
And that
with
we
no
can't do
instructions.
anything anyway, because even though we ain't got the permit, we can't do anything for the contractor because DOH is responsible for it. Right, DOH is responsible for it, so.
It's not
Yeah.
over. My suggestion is somehow we let this D5 know officially that we're coming after the contract.
Yep.
I mean, I think
I think
we got that feeling at the session in Romney that there was a D5 guy there.
Yeah.
And the inspector said, and you know, who you're representing, why are you here? And he dutifully said, I'm here to listen.
I can't answer any
I can't
questions.
answer any questions.
Is it a possibility that they would just dismiss the fee altogether?
I don't know. It's up to them. I think we
I mean,
went
they
down
could
there.
do it. They-
You know,
they could.
we went
It's
down
not
there in good
impossible.
faith.
Right.
And I think it was
Yeah.
received that way. However, there's a consent order on the books. They went through the fine calculation, which is eye-watering. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
they went through it. It's very difficult to undo it.
yeah,
You know,
after you get it,
you know,
it's
you
very
did-
difficult.
You can't unsee
Difficult
something.
doesn't mean.
Well, and no
you
matter
can't do it.
what, that record of that violation will stay on the town staff, I mean, as having happened. It may be paid, it may be resolved, but DEP violations.
Well, yeah, it's an Army permit.
Yeah.
So,
Army and.
so it's, how often, and I guess you may have one for the water. Who's got the
We
permit?
have
for-
an NPDES for the discharge for the water.
Whose name's on it?
The waterworks.
It's town of Bath.
So that's, you know,
I
that's.
never signed that one.
So my recommendation immediately is give somebody the waterworks the 800 number.
Yeah.
Because
Yes, absolutely.
it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
It's gonna happen. So, but this isn't over. I do think we should let D5 know.
Yeah.
Don't close the contract because the folks were out there finishing off the punch list today.
well, they can't close it off without my signature.
Do
No,
you
no,
suggest we write a letter to somebody?
just, excuse me. D5 can end the contract without saying anything to you.
Really?
It's a contract
What
between.
you're signing is the
That
Army
it's complete.
Corps
Yes,
completion.
yeah, that
For the
certificate that you would have to
permit.
sign, that's you to
Right.
decide whether you're gonna sign it or
Well,
not.
then I think we ought to send a letter stating, do not close this project
That's,
until we get
that's what I
this.
wanna do and I'll draft it up for you.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, we've verbally kind of warned them all over the place.
Yeah.
And
Well, if we make it
That's a good
official in a
idea.
letter, if they close it, then
Yeah.
they're deliberately trying to
Well,
stop
yeah.
us from
Well, just- I
collecting.
think all we have to say is don't.
Well, they're now incentivized to try and hurry up and close it
Yeah,
if they know
yeah,
we're coming
yeah.
for it.
I don't even want to hear it down.
Settle-
Don't do that, Rick.
Settlement of this consent order is number 20 on the punch list. It's on their list.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not something we have to insert there. What we're talking about is, we're coming after the money, whether it's residual in the contract.
Right.
Because work didn't need to be done, or whether it's the bond. And the whole idea is to find that bond. And I think now's the time to start to do it.
Yeah.
Because the DEP folks in Romney said, go after the bond.
Yep.
I mean,
It's exactly what
that
they
way.
told
So
us.
it's not like, so anyhow, yes, you'll have a letter tomorrow.
All right,
something
great.
like that. All right, I think I'm done.
And
Anybody
this
got it?
letter is
Oh,
going
you
to
want
the DOH.
Yes,
It's going to D5.
D5, DOH D5 district.
Okay,
All right.
all right,
Anybody
I'll,
got anything for Pete?
No.
Thank you,
Is
Pete.
that enough?
Yeah, thanks, man.
I'd like to say I enjoyed it, but
Yeah. It was fun.
it was a respectful meeting.
Yeah.
It was hardly any yelling.
Well, they said we were well prepared for the meeting, so
Uh-huh.
due to this gentleman here, so we had binders, we looked professional when we walked in there, so all sat up in our chairs. But
We're here to figure this out.
all right, well, let's move on. Train Depot.
Okay, the depot committee is meeting, April the 18th, which, just a couple days from now at 4 PM at the depot. Last week I met with the fire marshal at the depot. What we wanted to get was his consensus of a proper occupancy that we could have for the large room in the middle, the lobby. We did receive that, and it may have gone out to council, but 40 people can be in the main lobby area with chairs. And so we're happy about that because that suits our purpose, and we don't want more people in there than, would be comfortable anyway. We're also going over our liability insurance and property insurance to make sure that it's insured properly. Jim Bailey, who is the co-chair of the depot committee, is meeting with our insurance company this Thursday. We are still planning to have music entertainment in the depot the third weekend of May, June, July, August, and September with Ross Martin, who does a train show, musical show. That's still in the works. We're still working out some of the kinks and dates. There's a couple of questions about a couple of dates. We don't want to interfere with anything else. But that seems to be a real good idea right now to get people in the depot and looking around and enjoying it and thinking of their own ideas of things we'd like to do. And we are thinking on council about settling in on, the future of the depot and how it's really going to be used, what is its highest and best use and purpose, and how the town can benefit by everything that goes on there. The depot lot does include the lot behind, which most of us have seen the Mills Group concept drawing, and we're moving towards that. The county did apply for congressionally directed funding for that lot, and has received a grant approval for that for $720,000 for the development of this lot. So now the next step is to work with the DOH TA grant, with what that grant funds and what this new money funds in order to make it happen to be the wonderful park and entry to our community that we know it can be. So that's it. If you have an interest, come on Thursday down at the depot. Okay.
Anybody have any questions for Susan on the depot? Okay, let's move on. Landmarks Commission. Nobody's here from there, so we'll move down to clerk and recorder's report. Madam Clerk, do you have anything? Madam Recorder, do you have anything?
I think so. I think what we have, well, no, not as far as finance, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
well, let's move on down to finance then. if you
All right,
don't have
then let's
anything.
just move along. We do have a budget revision that is an in-house budget revision. This does not need to go to the state. It has to do with the town hall account with retirement utilities, postage, and auto supplies. The amount of what's the total amount of the revision?
It was just to reallocate money from one location to
Okay,
another, $3,500.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you need a motion from
Yes,
council? Okay, I move that we make the budget revision as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second on the floor to make a budget revision on the town hall budget. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Okay.
That's done.
Okay, this evening is the day, the third Tuesday of April, and all over West Virginia, councils are meeting today, and also county commissions to set their levy. Our levy has been properly advertised in the newspaper. You all may have looked at it. We once again have not raised our tax rate for property in the town of Bath. It is still for residential property, 12.5%, which makes leaves the class 2 at 25 and wait a minute, excuse me, made a mistake there. Class 4 at 50. Yeah, right. The total of the budget is $838,813. This is a little higher than we've had before, but we are creating more income with different things that you've seen us do on council. Our expenses are higher, so we have to meet them. And that requires us to make some hard decisions that we have brought to the public, and we will continue to do that to make sure that we're stable and forward-thinking in our decisions. I would like to make a motion that we accept the levy as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a second. I have a motion, a second on the floor to lay the levy at what it's been presented here at council. Do I have any discussion?
If you see a difference in your property tax bill, please know that we don't assess property. The town of Bath does not assess property. That's done by the county. So if you see some difference, it may be because your assessment of your property value is different. I also always encourage people to actually look at your tax bill, because you will see on the right-hand side, about the middle of the bill, you will see it is listed exactly where your tax money is going, the exact dollar amount for each bill when it comes to the town of Bath, municipal tax, county tax, school board tax, and the school excess levy. You'll see that the tax on the town bill is the smallest part of your tax bill, and we try to give you the biggest bang for it. So just a little aside. So.
Okay, any more discussion? All right, I will ask the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We have just laid the levy for our fiscal year starting July 2024, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty soon.
Yep, so we'll be starting that our fiscal year. All right. Want to pay some bills then?
Yeah. Make a motion that we pay the town of Bath bills in the amount of $35,349.45.
Second.
The motion is second on the floor to pay the town of Bath bills in the amount of $35,349.45. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Make a motion that we pay the Berkeley Springs Waterworks bills in the amount of $35,104.89.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the floor to pay the Berkeley Springs water bills in the amount of $35,104.89. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Make a motion that we pay the tree board bills in the amount of $319.20. Second.
Have a motion and a second on the floor to pay the town of Bath tree board bills in the amount of $319.20. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Make a motion that we pay the North Berkeley Rail Trail bills in the amount of $630.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the floor to pay the North Berkeley Rail Trail bills in the amount of $630. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Make a motion that we pay the hotel motel tax distribution in the amount of $23,253.56.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on the floor to pay the hotel motel distribution in the amount of $23,253.56. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
And we have another bill on our list, Berkeley Springs Water Works bill for the 522 extension grant in the amount of $174,400 in discussion in the finance committee. We concurred that it might be best that we hold this for approval until we have some clarification on some of the responsibilities and how this is going to be handled so we more clearly
I
understand.
will make a motion that we table this issue until clarity has come from our municipal clerk as to what and how this is going to be paid.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second on the floor to table the Berkeley Springs Waterworks bill for the 522 extension. Any discussion? All those,
Just so you know, tabling means that it must come up at the next meeting. So by that time, we should have
clarity.
What's the amount again? I'm sorry.
174,400.
That's it.
That's it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. All right. Do you have any more for finance? Okay. Well, let's move on down to the tree board.
We have a Arbor Day proclamation before you. And I believe that's on the agenda later on.
All right.
That's the only tree board business.
Do you want me to read this whole thing?
I don't think it's necessary. You'll read it
Okay.
at the Arbor Day event, and we hope that
right.
everyone will come to that.
Everybody's probably got it in their book. This is the Arbor Day proclamation. We are going to have this on the 27th. So this proclamation will be read on the 27th, right? By myself. And so we want to have this proclamation. So they want my signature on this.
I make a motion that we approve the Arbor Day proclamation.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion, second on the floor to pay the Arbor Day proclamation. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
So this is designating April 27th as Arbor Day in the town of Bath. We are going to be having a tree planting ceremony at the, ceremony. We're going to be planting trees and shrubs at the depot on the eastern side. It's going to be a tiny forest, which means that it's mixed natives, and they're going to be planted relatively close so that it grows up quickly. The trees will be part of the restoration of the brownfield. They will clean and improve the soil. And we are going to be dedicating the tiny forest to the memory of Gail Folds for her community support and involvement. And
Yes.
Very nice.
so we're inviting everyone to be there to help plant. If you volunteer to plant, you get a t-shirt that's paid for out of the grant. And light refreshments, the proclamation, we believe the West Virginia Division of Forestry will be on hand to congratulate us on 16 years as a Tree City USA.
And having
What's
an
the date
Arbor
for
Day
that?
The 27th.
The 27th.
having an
at 4
Arbor Day
o'clock.
celebration is one of the requirements of being a Tree City USA.
It's 10 to noon, and it should be in the paper. Tomorrow.
Good enough. All right. Anything else for tree board? Okay, let's move on down to grant.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
So I want to talk about the grant we're working on now. You might be surprised to know that the town of Bath has 2 police officers. And there are 168 hours in the week, and we have police protection for just 80 of them. So this is clearly an under-resourced need here in town, particularly when the population swells on weekends with tourists and seasonally through all the warmer months. There is a program called the COPS Hiring Program, and it is a grant program designed to provide funds directly to law enforcement agencies to hire new or rehire existing career law enforcement officers to increase their community policing capacity and crime prevention efforts. The application is due on June 12th. I initially thought why we should ask for 2, because we actually need more than 2. Well, we need at least 2. But because our current police force is less than 10 officers, we can only ask for 1. So we'll start with 1. That application will be submitted, that grant application will be submitted on or before June 12th. Once that is done and in the hopper, we're going to move on to a new grant called the Community Change Grant that focuses on just green living in communities, preventing air pollution, creating walking paths. And this one we want to focus on in terms of our sidewalk situation and funding for that. If you walk a block or 2 off the main drag, there's a lot of cracked sidewalks, uneven sidewalks, trippable sidewalks. So that's the next one in the hopper, but right now the COPS grant is what's on deck and what we're actively working on an application for. That's it.
All right, anybody have any questions for Mary?
Yeah, Mary, Trish, here. How long before you'll know you'll get the COPS grant?
Well, right now, we know that the application deadline is June, and I think it's not until the fall that we'll hear. And there is a 25% community match. We have to come up with approximately $10,000 to fund 25% of a salary based on a salary of approximately $40,000. So, yeah. And I'll provide updates when I have them.
Good, thank you.
All right, any other questions? If not, we're going to move on. Thank you, Mary. All right, let's move on to public safety. And that is me. We've pretty well done our public safety duties for this evening. Did Chief Leaf anything else that we needed to talk about? Okay, our next meeting is going to be the 8th at 4, right? In May. Okay. All right. More to come. We're working very diligently on public safety. So working hard on trying to get our public safety back in order and everything. So look for big things to happen. All right, let's move on to the cemetery.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone that participated in Make It Shine on April 6th. We had 8 people come to Town Hall to get supplies. We had 22 people in Greenway Cemetery. A lot of Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, 4-H. So we had a very good turnout. It really helps us clean up the cemetery to get it ready to mow. And speaking of mowing, we met with our contractor, Dustin Percy Renovations yesterday, and the mowing will start in Greenway this summer. And so that we talked about the 60 hours and keeping an eye on drought conditions, and he understands the financial restrictions that we have in dealing with the cemetery. So we will move forward as best we can to keep the cemetery mowed well. Pete Brown met with the contractor for the mausoleum yesterday along with Jeff Gola to talk about the work that was done earlier this year and getting the project started and finished. And so that is moving forward. Is there anything you'd like to add, Pete?
No, I sent what we did to you to take a look at because
Okay.
there's some contract stuff in there.
Yeah,
But
okay.
what we really wanted to do is with Jeff Gola, he's done everything with Thrasher, including inspection of concrete matters, to go through what next had to happen with each of the work statements, what was Mark going to do, and to tune it so that we're all on the same page. The idea being, he's going to run and get going, and we're not going to do a stop-start thing on inspections and such like that, but we'll keep close ties. If something goes awry, we're going to know it. And we've got Jeff Gola on though to do the professional thing.
Do we know when he's gonna start?
I suspect it's next week. He kind of indicated that they'd be ready to go next week.
Last time he needed some space at the shed. Is that still?
Yeah, that's going to be the same. And I checked and he said he still had a key. Is there a key?
We're gonna be storing some equipment in there, so
Yeah.
it's not gonna have the full space.
I don't know. I don't know what he had in there.
He
before.
still has our key.
That's what he
As far
said.
as I know, yes.
That's what he said. Yeah. So catch up with him. I mean, you know his phone number.
Okay,
You do.
we will do that. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for Beth in the cemetery? All right, if not, then we'll move on to Public Works.
I don't have anything other than, it's always constant repairs on the equipment, which we're looking at and trying to make sure that we have funding for that. One thing I do have a concern about though, I'm starting to see signs placed in public spaces, particularly the flower beds and the flower planters. And I don't know that we have an ordinance on the books about that, but I really don't like seeing either those kind of signs because it's public space. So any kind of commercial sign or a sign for somebody running for office, they shouldn't be placed in
Right.
those planter beds. There's electricity in the planter beds, there's pipes, and there's little plants in there that have roots, so I don't like seeing that. So we may ask
I'll take a look at that.
for it. Thank you.
Along 522, I wonder if being along 522, I know there's a rule about putting along public highways. I don't know.
Can't be in the right of way,
It
but
can be in
these
the
are
right of
our
way.
public
Okay.
flower beds.
All right, we need to look at that. If not, we need to beat that ordinance up because I've seen a lot of that in the last couple of weeks, so.
It's a state thing on 522.
Yeah, well, they used
Yeah, that's a
to,
state road.
yeah, it's a state
Mhm.
road.
They'll come and get them.
Yeah, they'll take them
Well,
because
They haven't been. They're in that because they're in the planter.
they're in the
boxes.
flower bed paying the planters. So-
Just simple, say nothing in the flower
Yeah.
boxes.
Well, I have tried that, but I'm not the police.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, they need to come out.
Thank you.
You know, I think that we can send the chief around or one of the officers or, and if not, I'll collect them. You know, I think they need to come out there. We put those planter boxes in there to be beautiful in the summertime. There was a lot of work put in to picking out the plants and picking out what needed to be. And then to go putting signs down in there where we've got, plants that are growing sometimes with small roots and everything else, is, as far as I'm concerned, is disrespectful. We dedicated those planter boxes to the people that worked on it, Larry Lauer and, who else?
Sally Marshall.
Sally Marshall. And I think that it makes it look unattractable when we stick signs in there. So, like I said, if they see a sign in it, I pull it out, bring it up here to town hall. If anybody has a problem with it, they can come talk to me. So, and if I see the signs are coming out, and if you would do a little blurb in there that political signs, anything, don't need to be in the flower boxes
Or commercial.
or commercial. Yeah.
Can you then, was there an ordinance in place that we can refer them to?
No, as far as I'm concerned, that's a planter box. They were dedicated to certain people. They don't need to be there. There's certain things that people's got to understand that, they need to be respectful. So
Can you just go take them out?
Yeah.
I'll go take them out.
Yeah, public property.
Yeah. State Road does it all the time, and as far as I'm concerned, it's disrespectful for all the work that we have done.
And they will be
Yep.
removed.
If they'll be removed, they can pick them up at town hall. So. All right, let's move on. Ordinance.
Ordinance, okay, for these These items will occur at our next town hall meeting, bringing forward for first reading the short-term rental ordinance. And what we're seeking with that ordinance is compliance from folks that have Airbnb, VRBO, bed and breakfast establishments, and any properties renting for less than 30 days per month, so that folks are compliant with parking, trash, and noise. Also moving forward for first reading will be a festival fee ordinance, and that's a multi-day ordinance for 2 or more days. We're also bringing forward for council review municipal sales and use tax ordinance for discussion, as well as a review of updating our water tariff with capacity improvement fees. And what's important about the capacity improvement fees is this will allow us for any new construction, residential or commercial, as a result of the bypass or water extensions or anywhere along 522, to charge capacity fees, which could be as much as $1,500 per unit. So if someone intends on building a 100-unit apartment building or hotel with 100 rooms, there would be a charge of $1,500 per unit in addition to the tap fee. At this point, all we can charge is an $850 tap fee. If you look at Berkeley County and other counties, you'll see that they've already have begun applying capacity improvement fees. So we have those items going, and also take a look at the ordinance to see if we have something about signage, which I know we do already on the books, and I'm sure it'll apply to what we have. And I'll just make sure we get that number to Sharon to go with this.
Right. Okay. All right. Anything else for ordinance?
No, that's quite there.
All right. We're moving down to waterworks. I would like to say one thing. I would like to say our gentlemen that work for the water company. I want to give a shout out to our superintendent, Rick, and the other 3 guys that are down there right now. We've had a few minor little problems going on. They've hung in there. They've stayed after hours. They've done what needs to be done. This is what dedicated employees do. And I'd like to give a shout out, if you can maybe just give a shout out to our water crew in the paper, if you would, that we are very pleased that we have them on duty to take care of our needs to keep our water flowing in this community. I think they get lost in the shuffle of everything going on with the community, and they never get any recognition. You see our water guys, or if you see our street guys even, shake their hand, say thank you very much. They do a job out here in the middle of the winter, the middle of the summer. They'll jump in a pit of cold water in the middle of the winter. And I commend them. I commend also our street crew. They're out here mowing in the middle of the summer, heat related, and everything. I'd like to, if you see them, stop them, shake their hand if they're not on a mower or doing something, and say, we appreciate you.
Don't stop them too long.
Yeah, don't stop them too long, but just let them know. I mean, we have a lot of great people. The ladies that work here in the office, our police officers, Sandy back there that's standing, that's our police administrator. These people work hard for this community. And they come here every day. They dedicate their time to us. They stay after hours if they're needed. So I think this community really needs to tell them how much we appreciate them. So that's all I have to say about Waterworks. Tom, it's yours.
You've said it all.
I didn't mean to take your thunder.
Said it all.
But
yeah, folks, we had some issues last Friday that were very serious, but at the same token, we have the capacity of the employees that were there to keep things under control and up to snuff immediately. And again, as the mayor has said, the guys have gone the extra mile. I stopped in at 4 o'clock in the morning just to check and see how things were going. And there were people there at the plant at 4 o'clock in the morning, making certain that our water was flowing. So again, I take my hat off to the water crew, the new superintendent, and the guys that are all there. They did a magnificent job. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock is our water committee meeting. If you would be interested in coming, we are always interested in having the public come. With that being said, Mr. Mayor, I'm through.
I have one thing about the waterworks. We're planning on hosting the USAID group that's coming in for a global workshop at Kakapen State Park. They'll be there all week. And on Wednesday, they are planning on touring our waterworks and our green infrastructure here in town. It's about 70 international guests, so it's a fairly big deal.
Yeah.
Is that tomorrow, Wednesday?
No, it's May the 8th.
So, like I said, a shout out to those guys that are out there all the time in the weather. Doesn't matter whether it's hot, cold, they're there. So thank them very much. Okay, waterworks is done. Come to the point in this meeting. Is there anything that council members need to bring forward to us right now? If not, I will open the meeting up for anybody that needs to speak to us from the public.
May I say something again?
Yes.
I want to say something after you say something.
Okay.
You say something first.
Sounds great. You know, this morning as I'm driving through town, I see this lady walking through town, picking up paper in a little bag. And it amazes me because she walks up and down my street, up and down Route 9, and she picks up trash. She makes this community look better every day. And it's time we recognize this lady. It's time that we recognize what she does. I've lived here for almost 35 years, and this is the first time I've seen a regular, non-paid person with a smile on her face and a shake in her hand every time, going along, welcoming people to our community and making our community look better.
We also have a younger gentleman that also does it on weekends, evenings. I saw him out the other week. It was dark, and he's out picking up paper. It was about 9 o'clock, and he's carrying a trash bag and his little thing picking up paper at 9 o'clock at night.
Brandon Middlecall.
Yep. Yes. And he's an excellent ambassador for our town. He goes and cleans, picks up trash. So like I said, we've got a lot of great people, a lot of talented people in this community that they'll go out and sweep the stones up along the curb. Vince that works down there. I mean, I've seen him out pushing a broom, cleaning up stones off the sidewalks and off the street itself. I mean, we have a lot of people that keep this community in running because we don't always have the manpower of the time, to have our guys out there sweeping all the time and stuff like that. So,
And Scott,
okay.
I had some, Scott.
if they want to come to the town hall, we do have supplies in bags and gloves and things that we'd be happy to provide them
Absolutely.
for a volunteer.
Yep.
Great
Awesome.
idea. Thank you, Sharon.
Who's last?
Lakowitz. Ellen Lakowitz is
Yeah.
the
Oh, okay.
woman you were talking about.
She's the same lady that's been doing it on 522, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
She's been doing this for a few years.
Mhm.
But she did get recognized and awarded. I can't remember the organization that did recognize her. It was in the paper like last year.
We did a story on it.
Yeah, she did. That's exactly right. It was in the Messenger. A beautiful article.
Scott, I just wanted to recognize you because in the most recent water crisis, and I don't think that that's too much of a exaggeration of what we were dealing with at the end of last week, as well as the one before that, you were very hands-on in both situations. You're a plumber by trade, and you were over there for a lot of long hours. I remember you telling me about getting a generator at 3 o'clock in the morning. You said, "Oh no, I didn't put it in. I just went and picked it up at 3 o'clock in the morning." Or maybe, oh no, it was propane gas over at Roy's. So I just really want to celebrate you in the same spirit that you've celebrated others. And I need to give a shout out to the gentleman next to you because I know that he keeps not only the part of Wilk Street and his block nice and clean, but he goes down Congress Street past Atasia Spa and all those houses and does the same thing over there. So kudos to both of you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Like I said, that's what I feel a mayor needs to do. I've got that experience. I got that hands-on. I've worked with that kind of equipment all my life. So I'm able to help if I can help I normally just stay out of the way unless the guys say, hey, I need a help or I need whatever. So, like I said, I really appreciate everybody on this council, everything they do behind the scenes. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, not just meetings. So like I said, I think this needs to be done more in this community. People recognized for what they do. You may see them out there, but nobody ever recognizes them. And I think this community of all communities is really, they pull together when things need to be done. So anyway, I'm not saying another word. I'm just tickled to death that everything's coming together. So anybody out there have anything that they need to talk to us about? If not, I'm going to ask for a common consent of adjournment. All right, we're in adjournment then.